That is why I must discuss a very public part of my identity. This characteristic has probably become the first thing you think of when you think of me as a human being. As you know, I have curly hair.
This is high school student Zander Moricz giving a speech in the state of Florida.
I spent mornings and nights embarrassed at them, trying desperately to straighten this part of who I am. But the daily damage of trying to fix myself became too much to endure. So, while having curly hair in Florida is difficult, due to the humidity, I decided to be proud of who I was and started coming to school as my authentic self.
Because you see, in a state controlled by a fascist, Xander subs the word gay out in his own unique, creative way.
Here, it was Miss Ballard who answered my questions because I didn't have other curly-haired people to talk to. It was Mr. Pauling who read essays about curls costing me an opportunity that I really wanted. It was my friends that told me that curls look good on me and that I should stop hiding them. It was a messy and twisted growth process, but eventually I did.
Xander is his class's president, a senior at Pineview School in Osprey.
It's because of the love I've drawn from this community that I came out to my family. Now I'm happy. Now I'm happy. And that is what is at stake. There are going to be so many kids with curly hair who meet a community like Pineview and they will not have one. Instead, they'll try to fix themselves so that they can exist in Florida's humid climate. I've been preparing for this speech since I was elected my freshman year. Do you think that I wanted it to be about this? It needs to be about this for the thousands of curly-haired kids who are going to be forced to speak like this for their entire lives as students.
A truly moving, remarkable, and strong speech. Xander uses his curls to, well, mean something else. You know, the thing this traitor despises and wishes for the many who are like Xander, that they just did not exist. There were the few who spoke out against this legislative travesty for those in the LGBTQ plus community. The supporters group for soccer club Orlando Pride brought a banner with the banned words, "DeSantis and co. are fighting to keep out of public view." 18-year-old American tennis phenom Coco Gauff also spoke out against the bill, saying, "I'm against it. I think these conversations are important, and for me, who has friends in the LGBTQ plus community, I couldn't imagine not being able to talk about your identity. I feel that's something that is normal. Every person I've known has known that they were part of that community since they were young," she said. "I think it's important that they have those conversations in school because that is supposed to be a safe space to talk about everything." However, in the wake of Republicans passing this horrendous bill, Outsports noted this: the biggest people in the state of Florida were nowhere to be found and did not offer their support. How did the sports world react? 1 or 2 levels above crickets. To this point, there have been only a handful of responses from LGBTQ athletes and straight allies. Not that we expect anything from this guy, but the biggest name in the state and a Super Bowl winner, and arguably the greatest ever at his position, was silent. While students protested in Tampa Bay, the Lightning, poised to win their 3rd straight Stanley Cup, well, they were nowhere to be found. The Miami Heat, currently in the NBA playoffs battling with the Boston Celtics, they have a lot of familiar faces. Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Bam Adebayo, and others. They were silent. For the Post, Xander is an openly gay activist who is the youngest plaintiff in a lawsuit against a new state law that restricts what teachers can say in classes about gender and sexual orientation. The teenager said publicly that he had been warned by his principal not to mention his activism or say the word gay. If he did, Xander said on social media, his mic would be cut off. So, during his speech, without saying the word, he still managed to speak directly about who he is and why he advocates for his community. He used his curly hair as the metaphor. This is something Xander brought to our attention a fortnight ago in a Twitter thread. "I am the first openly gay class president in my school's history. This censorship seems to show that they want me to be the last. This threat is not the first that I have received from administration about my queer rights. When administration discovered that I was organizing a Say Gay walkout, they had all our posters ripped from the walls and told me to shut down the protests. They said they would send school security if I did not listen. I held a walkout anyways, and it became our country's largest protest. I won't give in to threats, and I won't be silenced. I have a plan to fight back again, and this time I need your help. The 18-year-old told GMA he was worried ahead of the speech, but felt supported by his fellow classmates and peers, some of whom wore Say Gay stickers and stood up and cheered during his speech. There was a lot of hate and a lot of fear surrounding the speech about what people were going to do if someone was going to react poorly, because it was really present in the community, that hatred and that fear. And so I was worried, and I knew that there was potential to cut the mic. Xander said having to modify his speech was more than just disappointing. It was a really dehumanizing decision because I had to take something I had written and I had to find a way to be clever to discuss who I was, he said, because the district affirmed that they supported action if I brought up the lawsuit or the advocacy around it. I knew that the threat to cut the mic was very real, so I wasn't going to let that happen, and I just had to be clever about it, but I shouldn't have had to be because I don't exist in a euphemism and I deserve to be celebrated as is.